Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. We are visiting with Dee Matthews from Keller Williams Legacy Group Realty and Bud Kuiper from the Anchor House. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Susie.
Good morning.
So this is an interesting combo here, an interesting relationship. Dee, why don't you start with how in the world you and Bud had your paths cross?
Well, thank you for inviting me, first of all. Keller Williams Legacy Group Realty is a little bit unique from some other real estate agencies. We do have a philosophy, and some of the background or fabric of how we've been formed is we do believe God and faith is first, family is second, and then our business will follow. And the business, of course, being real estate. But with that, the first part, we felt that in honoring God, we should take the time to give back to our community. So we have sought ways to do so within the community. For example, every May, Keller Williams International requests that we have a day of sharing. We shut down our offices, we put on our work clothes, and we take on a project. This last year, we took on the project of remodeling and helping with veterans' homes. And we really enjoyed it, and we enjoy giving back to the community. So each Christmas, we've also wanted to continue throughout the year, and at Christmas time, we were looking for something new and a little bit different. We usually have a Christmas tree where everybody takes a gift tag, but we wanted to take it one step farther. The good Lord answered right away last year because I happened to read in the paper about Bud's experiences and his project in Anchor House. And Joyce Cameron and myself decided to go over before we took on this project and just see what Anchor House was all about.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. Last year, in a short time, approximately 10 to 12 days, we filled my office at Keller Williams with items for the homeless. My husband and I were able to help the day they distributed these items, and we were so very moved. And we decided this year we wanted to do it again and expand what we collected and what we're doing.
What a unique philosophy for a business to operate by. And to us sitting in this room, that spells success. But to a lot of other businesses, it's all about the bottom line. Did you realize that they had such a heart for, first of all, following God, and for second, to be so community-minded when you started there? Was that part of the appeal, or was that a nice surprise once you started?
No, it was part of the appeal. There were a number of us that had worked together throughout our years of real estate. Some of us have been 20, 30 years or more in real estate. And we wanted to come together from different agencies and form a new agency. And we were looking at different models. We heard about Keller Williams. Some of us that had been active in the Board of Realtors had the opportunity to go down to the state and national conventions. With that being said, we kept hearing Keller Williams, they're unique. And we wondered what was so unique about them. And we were very much drawn to their business model, where they follow those standards, and we decided to form an agency. There were probably 8 to 12 of us that started the agency here in Stark County, and it's grown and grown and grown, and we're very, very pleased with that. But that now is part of the philosophy and the program that we also share with other realtors as we are expanding and growing and encouraging other realtors to join us.
Yeah, what a concept. Biblical principles work. That's just what a concept. And Bud, what she read about you is still just an amazing story. You decided to spend 9 days homeless. Let's talk about that. First, what made you do that?
The first year we were around, Homeless and Hunger Awareness Week is in November. And the first year we held up cardboard signs with candles, did like a candlelight vigil, and the cardboard sign posted statistics of the homeless, like 1 in 4 homeless are youth, different things like that. And we just stood on the corner and held those signs.
Did people stop and try to give you money and food?
They didn't. We did it downtown Alliance, and I think most people probably just kind of worried about who we were, what we were doing with candles and cardboard signs. I don't know if they thought it was a homeless movement or what. But so the second year, it was like June when I decided we need to do something bigger and better. And I'm always on YouTube, I'm always on Facebook, and I'm seeing these videos of homeless people in Florida and New York and New Jersey, but nothing about Canton, Ohio. So I said, we have to figure a way to get the homeless story of what a sober homeless person goes through, because there's so much stigma. They're all drunks. They're all addicts. They're lazy. All they have to do is go get a job. Until you walk a mile in someone's shoes, it's hard to figure that out. So that's why I did what I did. I spent 9 days and I journaled it all so I could show you the challenges, just day-to-day challenges that a sober homeless person goes through in Canton, Ohio.
Is there a video?
There's not a video. I had cameras installed in my coat, and I had nothing but problems on day one. So I had to go and buy a journal and handwrite it all. It's on our Facebook page.
The old-fashioned way.
Yeah, the old-fashioned way. If I do it again, I would like to make sure I have some video. But I need to make sure that if I do it again, it's not perceived as just me trying to take glory. I need to make sure that I'm collecting good data to use.
Well, your heart is in the right place. You're obviously doing this for all the right reasons. But people who know you must have thought, Bud, this is dangerous, and tried to talk you out of it.
They did. My board, like I said, I told my board in June that, hey, in November for Homeless Hunger Awareness Week, this is what I'm doing. Some of my board said, you're not going to last 9 days. Some of them were concerned about my safety. I've been homeless before. In Florida and South Carolina, never Ohio, so it was a new experience to me. But I also put all my faith in God that if I'm doing God's work, He's going to protect me. So I wasn't that concerned. I was still a little nervous at times. Still had some situations that made me go, this probably isn't the best. But I had full confidence that I've made a lot of poor choices in my life where I should have, where I flirted with death and should have probably not made it. This was not a poor choice, so I was
protected.
confident.
Why November? Why not just August? It'd be easier to be homeless in August in Ohio than in November.
Agreed, and I'm glad I didn't do it this year because I don't know if I'd be able to do this weather right now. But it's because it was National Homeless and Hunger Awareness Week, and that's why I chose the 9 days. And I did it for the full 9 days. I didn't do it for 7. I didn't do it for 12.
Well, why 9?
Because that's how long Homeless and Hunger Awareness Week is. It's 7. It's a full week. Plus, it starts on a weekend and ends at the end of the weekend.
So a full week and 2 weekends on both ends.
Yes.
Oh my! I am filled with questions for you at this point. Surprises. What did you find that was surprising?
On the high side, in Canton, Ohio, you don't have to go hungry. 7 days a week, you can eat twice a day. On Sunday, you can eat 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It takes a little bit of finding out where these things are, and you may miss a few meals when you're new to that situation, but after a few days or so, and you can go to the library and Google it, or use a 211 website, and you can find out all the places to eat. But that's a good thing. Stark County is meeting the hunger, or Canton is meeting the hunger needs.
How do the homeless find this out? Because you're right, people seem to know where to go the next time. How does that word get around?
I think just communication within the homeless. I just had to actually track down a homeless guy last week. Somebody had called me, and they were concerned about him. He was sleeping on a ledge. And within 2 hours of me just talking with different people that I knew to be on the streets currently, I was able to find the guy, piece together enough information to find him and talk with him, and took him to lunch and made sure he was doing okay.
Anchor House, do you house homeless people at Anchor House?
Not yet. It's part of our mission statement. It's been a plan for 2 years. Financially, that's the hurdle right now. Is we have a facility lined up, we have a program lined up on paper, business plan. It's the money right now.
We've had folks here from Refuge of Hope and from the Canton YWCA. Do people who are still on the streets, why are they still on the streets? If there's some place for them to go, do they know about this, or what is it that pulls a person back to just stay on the street instead?
Well, part of it, there's not enough beds in Stark County. Refuge of Hope and the YWCA, thank God for them, they're doing a great job. But the Refuge of Hope only houses 50 men. They have 36 permanent beds and 14 cots. The homeless count, the point-in-time count, says that there's nearly 500 people homeless in Stark County. And all of Stark County, you only have Refuge of Hope. That's Massillon, that's Alliance, that's Canton. So 50 beds isn't enough. Also, some of these people on the streets decide that they don't want to follow all the rules set forth by by Refuge of Hope and the Y. Refuge of Hope has a zero tolerance alcohol policy. You can't
Right.
come in under the influence.
Right.
So if you're going to choose to go out and drink, you're going to lose your bed.
And the fact that somebody would choose a drink over a bed, though, it's unfathomable a little bit.
While I was out there for 9 days, I became friends with a guy that his name is TJ. If you read the story, I refer to him as Oscar because he was living in a dumpster. But it's and he couldn't go to the refuge because he was choosing to drink. Now, while he was out there, while he lived in a dumpster, he got back into the Word. He started going to meetings on his own. Now he's living in Las Vegas. He's working at Dunkin' Donuts. He's supporting himself. He's doing good. But at that time, we all come to our rock bottom or our realization at different times. He came after living in a dumpster for a while to that realization.
Yeah, everybody has their own rock bottom. That's something. Well, what a wonderful turnaround story, though. You mentioned something I want to revisit. You said something about the head count or the homeless count. Do we really have a good idea of how many homeless are in our area? Because they take the count in the dead of winter, and it just seems that most everybody, if they didn't have a home, they would find some place to go when it's below zero, whether it's even inside a something that people don't really know they're there. How do you get a good head count if you're walking around the streets outside looking for people who are sleeping outside? In what month do they do it? January?
January.
Yeah, January. Why January? Wouldn't we want to look in June or something when the homeless are really outside?
Well, I believe that the reason they do it in January is because if you have the option to not be homeless, you're not going to be homeless in January.
So these are for sure people with absolutely no other place to go. But does that give us a true picture?
I don't believe it does. I know that it's the only HUD authorized count. It's a national standard. HUD says what to look for and who to focus on counts for, and they set the parameters. So that's the only authorized number that we can say that California follows the same thing, Florida follows the same thing. They tell us, last year was on January 24th. This year it'll be on January 23rd. It chooses one day of the year, and we ask for 10 days, the last 10 days of January, where the people slept on that day. But there's a lot of reasons for people not to answer that question. If it might be legal, if they're on probation or parole, they don't want their probation officer knowing that they don't live at whatever address he has for them. If they have children, they don't want CPS to come in and take their children, which might not be the case, but that's a fear. Sometimes it's just pride. Some people believe that you're just gathering this information so your organization gets dollars and you're not helping me, so I'm not going to add to your bank account. But there's a lot of reasons people don't answer the questions. So I think the list is grossly inaccurate, but I don't know that there's a better way.
Do we have a tent city?
We have I'm told there's a group of homeless. 2 years ago I was told it was 100 people. I haven't been able to find it myself, so I don't know. I've talked to different people that have belonged to this camp, and they've told me where it is, and I've not been able to locate it. We don't have a city-approved tent city by any means. We do have different officers who work with the homeless and will allow them to do what they need to do to survive without breaking laws, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So Anchor House, in time, you'd like to also be able to provide beds for homeless people. What is your mission right now? What are you doing?
Our mission statement is to help feed, clothe, house the homeless, and help people bounce back from life setbacks. We don't have the housing yet. We have the facility on the radar ready to go. Once financing's there, that'll have 100 beds. It'll house 100 men at a time through a program. A little bit different than Refuge of Hope is it's not first and foremost a shelter. It's first and foremost a program. But our target demographics are people with no homes, to get them back and get them to regain their independence. Working with Coleman for mental health, working with ComQuest for addiction recovery and mental health, working with Men's Challenge to give them the skills they need for employment. So it's not just Anchor House doing this; it's a collaborative effort with the best people in their industries doing what they do. Right now, we have a free sale store where we provide. It's a resale store open to the public. Everything's cheap. It's for the underprivileged. T-shirts are 50 cents. Shoes are $1.50. Jeans are $1.75. Everything's cheap. But if somebody in need comes in whether they're homeless, whether they had a house fire, whether they're just going through a rough patch. We allow them to do their own shopping and get what they need, primarily clothes, but whatever they need for free. If they need dishes because they had a house fire and don't have any dishes, we let them get dishes.
We're speaking with Bud Kuiper and Dee Matthews, going to tell you about some exciting things coming up that they're working together on after these words. You're listening to Our Community.